The fourth industrial revolution is here and we should not waste time.
Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zwende with your technology and social media news. Remember that it is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We hope you still are staying at home and keeping it safe where you are and adhering to those lockdown conditions. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you if you would ever participate in space travel. This as Elon Musk's SpaceX has said that they will be enabling civilians to go into space. Results of that are coming up later in the program. Firstly, here's what's coming up tonight. Education has been a contentious issue during world's lockdowns. And today we are looking at gamification of education as a method that helps parents assist their children at home. We review a new Fujifilm instant camera. And in our discussion, we look at those internet shutdowns again. And this time, we are looking at how this blocks access to information, especially for people in countries with very strict media laws and possibly with the only method of accessing information is through state-owned media. When we went into South Africa's lockdown in 2020, we found that a lot of high school pupils or school pupils in general could not do their schoolwork at home because they did not have internet access or they did not have the tech tools they needed to do that. Parents suddenly could not help their children do their work at home. There are countries like Kenya that shut down for up to 9 months before children were able to go back to school again. But there are methods that can be used by parents that probably don't need them to be teachers who are trained, like gamification of education. Fuze Ngcobo is 15. He will be in grade 10 in his home city of Durban this year. He says he has spent much of his school holidays playing video games.
It's boring because it's COVID-19 and we have to stay inside. So I use most of my time playing games because they just are interesting. And the games I usually play is Assassin, Driving School 2018 and Dream League Soccer.
Gaming elements are becoming popular in education. In Pretoria, Kim Chulu-Mukenge is an educational mobile games developer. He feels video games will help kids fall in love with education.
Static City Math, and it is available on Android and iOS and soon to also be available for Windows. The game has two interesting parts to it. One section which has to do with you being able to play a Monopoly-like game where you need to actually own all the various real estates, all the nicest buildings of the world. And for you to earn that, you are actually being put through few tasks and exercises in mathematics.
But Fuze says educational games don't interest him and doubts that they are attractive to many other children.
Usually I don't play educational games because I'm not saying they are boring. It's just that they're focusing more education in the games and less fun. If they can combine those two things like 50-50, maybe I can play those games.
In Nigeria, 17-year-old Bridget Onmada loves doing quizzes on a game called Quizzic.
When I tried it out, I did not get anything. So I was the last on leaderboard. So I felt like for people that are writing the same exams to be at the top, so I need to do something to get to that point.
Quizzic has been created by local developer Dade Samson.
Learning is not an affliction, and it shouldn't be an affliction. It should be fun.
Quizzic became popular during Nigeria's hard lockdown. It now has over 9,000 subscribers. Teachers can make use of it by creating subject-specific quizzes which can help the school pupils. If mobile games are not how the kid prefers playing while learning, then maybe coding as they build toy cars could be it, as Johannesburger Zubair Yusuf told us.
My name is Zubair Yusuf and I'm from the company called TrueX Edu. What we do is we developed a curriculum that teaches coding and programming with the added benefit or the practicality of teaching actual robots, building actual robots. Now, we extended the curriculum and integrated 3D printing. Now, students now learn how to code, program while building robots, but 3D printing their own components for the robots.
So, if as a parent you are still worried about your kids returning to school and are wondering how you can help at home without using old boring techniques, just know that there are many educational methods that are fun. We'll just keep on exploring these new methods in order for us to find better ways of assisting children, especially in a time of a pandemic. Now, if you suffer from asthma, there is a new tech tool that could assist you.
In the past, medicine was based on a very broad treatment solution, whereas currently today it's becoming more individual. Adam is a device that when the individual wears it, we're able to measure what is going on in that specific individual, because his physiology is very different from the next person's physiology. Adam is a wearable device that you stick onto your torso between the shoulders and the hips, and you can put it anywhere on your torso. And once it's on, within 5-10 minutes, people forget that it's on. The device is on your body for between 12 and 18 hours. Definitely at the times where they pick up the triggers. So when you're stressed at work, that's a trigger. So you have to have it on then. Or when you exercise, which may be early in the morning or later in the evening, you must make sure that at least the device is on. At the end of the day, you take the device off and you put it into the charger. And while it's on the charger, it syncs onto your cell phone, the app on the cell phone. And all that information that it's collect that day goes into the app. The app then communicates into the cloud, and all that data then sits in the cloud. What is really fantastic about that data is that you are then able to see, because it shows you over a period of time how your symptoms have changed. Asthma sufferers all have some form of medication. Now, you can start recording your medication, and you can confirm the dose, and you can confirm how often you take it. So you might take one in the morning and one in the evening, and it's all then on the device, which makes it easier for the healthcare professional to then change your dosage and to make sure that what the prescription is covering your needs at that time. As the individual, you are then able to share it with whoever you believe you want to share it with. So individuals may share it just with their immediate family. A lot of them may share it with their healthcare professional. And there's peace of mind that people now are also able to measure what is going on with your asthma. So we call that the community that you create around the information that's on the app. What then happens is the healthcare professional or the family members or the community will then decide what needs to be done in order to make the person feel better or to have a fuller life. So it might be that they need to up the amount of medicine that they're taking for their asthma. It might mean that they have to use their device that opens up the lungs. So it's very much a management tool. It's not a treatment tool. It's accessible to people right now off our e-commerce platform. So that's how we're launching the product. We have bought product in from America, so we have product available for sale.
There used to be a time we would pay photographers to take photos of us, and then we'd have to wait for periods as they would go into the darkroom to print those out. Then access to smartphones have helped us see our photographs almost instantly, but there's been a struggle to print them almost immediately too. The new Fujifilm instant camera can help you have your photograph right away.
This is the Insta-X SQ1 camera. It's Fujifilm's latest edition in the instant photo range. This follows the SQ6. We gave this one to professional photographer Tato Matlabe.
When I started taking pictures, I couldn't wait to go print out the picture. So I think it's like an Asian thing coming back in the digital world, making life easy. You don't need to go out and go to Fujifilm and go print out a picture. It comes out instantly, which is quite cool.
It takes just 90 seconds for a photo to be developed and printed so you can keep it forever. Compared to the Insta-X Mini version, the SQ1 produces square prints, which are 1.5 times bigger in size. This one also has simplified selfie mode.
The Insta-X Mini 11, it's quite smaller than this. And then the first thing that you look at when you take the Insta-X Mini and this one, you can look at the body. It's quite big as compared to the Mini one. And then also, the one thing that I love about this one, it's the selfie mode. With the Insta-X Mini, you have to pull the lens forward. With this one, you just, like your normal DSLR, it's like you're zooming in and out. So you can zoom in, zoom out. So that gives you like a nice feel to, and also this front, the front mirror is actually quite bigger as well, because you can see yourself proper.
While the photographer mostly liked this device, he did mention a few downsides.
The nice thing is that even in low light, unlike the previous ones, the Insta-X Mini 11 and the 9, actually the 9 was worse because it couldn't work proper in darkness. But then with this one, it gives you more depth of what's happening in the environment inside. You know, the one thing that I don't like about the Insta-X SQ or any other Insta-X camera is that you don't have options of lens choice. So it comes with a standard lens that it's just, I'd say it's a prime lens. The only feature that says that you can either pull it to a selfie mode that gives you more close-ups, and then your picture will be in focus, and then it just have a wide.
The SQ1 uses an Insta-X branded square film and operates on 2 CR2 lithium batteries that could have the instant camera lasting roughly 30 prints. It will cost you about 2,000 Rand.
After the break, we look at internet shutdowns that often happens in a time of elections in parts of Africa and part of the world, and look at how they block access to information, especially in countries that rely on state-owned media without much of an alternative. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Recently, we told you about the internet shutdown that took place in Uganda. Well, the internet was restored, but social media was not.
There was an internet shutdown that completely changed everything. Even journalists couldn't work, they couldn't file their report, you know? You had to literally do everything physically. From the field, run to your office and file a story like the traditional way, or send a text message. So there was an information gap. There was total darkness in Kampala and the whole country. So you wouldn't, even though you had evidence against ballot stuffing or something like that, you wouldn't easily present it anywhere. So these things that you're seeing came out later on after the internet was restored. Then we started seeing people predict ballot boxes and people are ticking ballot boxes. They all appear to be real. They appear to be real because you can actually see actual ballot papers and you can see actual people ticking for specific candidates. And I wouldn't say I've confirmed it, but they look real. And when the Electoral Commission was asked about these incidences, the Electoral Commission was questioning people instead. Why didn't you report to the police when you saw that? Why didn't you report to us when you saw that? Why didn't you take interest in that? But remember, internet was off.
All right, that is Alex Otto. He is a journalist in Uganda. Now, to hash out some of those issues about what's going on in Uganda and perhaps in other countries across the continent which may shut down the internet in times of elections is Professor Edmaya Amare. He is with the media department at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. Hello, and thank you very much for joining me, Professor Amare. Maybe if you have any views to add on that situation about journalists in Uganda and the internet and the slowing down of the updating of news content because of the internet shutdown.
On my views in terms of the information gap that is being spoken about in the video that you've just watched, it also affects journalists in terms of making it very difficult for them to file their stories on time. And because of that, that certainly creates an information gap and also there's a time lag between the curation of the story and the distribution of the story via maybe radio platforms, television platforms, and even on social media or even on newspapers. And that certainly creates an information gap.
Prof, do governments really manage to control public sentiment when they shut down the internet during elections?
Unfortunately, the answer to that, I would say that it's a no, because what it does is that internet shutdown somehow, postpones the production and curation of stories in real time, but still these stories will remain there. Once the internet shutdown is over, we have seen that stories that would have happened during the internet shutdown start, appearing on this platform. So it's just a temporary victory that they often, have. Sometimes they think that they can actually mute dissent, they can actually mute civic disobedience. They also think that through internet shutdowns, they can be able to control the narrative. But unfortunately, what we have seen is that people are very creative. They find ways to communicate despite these issues. And public sentiment, if ever we are talking about it, it will remain part and parcel of the conversation, because people will still hold those very strong views despite the internet shutdowns. Actually, it actually mobilizes people to become very political in some instances, because sometimes you end up actually affecting the livelihoods of people that even are not even interested in politics. And these people, once the internet shutdowns, even if they were for you, they may end up actually turning up against you.
There have been many suggestions from different quarters that social media could perhaps promote fake news. Maybe those governments want to curb that, would you say?
Unfortunately, social media was not the platform that actually brought fake news. Fake news was there before social media, and it's actually going to outlive social media. Any other digital platform is going to come and go, but false news, false information will continue to be part and parcel of our media diet, and also even the issues around conspiracy theories that we are seeing right now will continue to be there. What I would say is that certainly, yes, there's polarity that actually manifests itself, but what is very important is that social media amplifies what is already existing. So if there is a society which is already polarized, those polarities can actually be played out on social media. Those extreme ethnic hate and political divisions can actually be seen and reproduced on social media. So what I would say is that social media only amplifies false news. It only amplifies conspiracy theories. It only amplifies. So it amplifies socially existing processes that are actually happening, or socially existing things that are already playing themselves out in the public sphere.
We did hear from Alex Otto earlier about the slowing down of updating news and the constant running up and down between newsrooms and where the story is, or sometimes sending SMSs, which doesn't move things as fast as the internet would. You also mentioned that as well. Perhaps maybe if you can explain how then important is traditional media, especially at this time of the internet.
these actually end up becoming very important during an internet shutdowns, because people have to turn to those credible sources to verify what is really happening, because most of the time people really would not understand what is happening around them. So obviously we have seen that traditional news sources become very important during that time. But also we have seen that people often turn to what we call popular forms of communication. For example, here in Africa, there are so many popular forms of communication, like people speak through gossip, people speak through jokes, people use cartoons. Nowadays they use memes. So they mimify what is really happening around them. For example, they start passing jokes around the internet shutdowns, or its ineffectiveness in terms of stemming the tide of holding public, stemming the tide of sentiment around certain issues. So certainly people have always found opportunities and creative means to go around these internet shutdowns without necessarily stopping communicating.
All right, Professor Edma Amare from the Namibia University of Science and Technology. Thank you very much for being a part of our network.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And with that, let's take a short break. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the tech space.
With many parents and students across the U.S. longing for a return to in-person learning after the coronavirus pandemic forced classes online, a robotics company thinks it has the answer: disinfecting robots that use ultraviolet light to kill COVID-19 in classrooms and school common areas.
Adabot is two robots, one autonomous and one stationary. It utilizes a wavelength of UV light, also known as UVC, to inactivate pathogens. It basically scrambles the DNA and RNA of pathogens and disallowing it from replicating.
UVC light can be harmful to humans, so the Adabot comes with a warning sign to be placed outside the room that shuts down the system if it detects any movement. It also has a camera and sensor on the robot itself that will switch it off if someone walks past the sign and enters the space it is cleaning. The stationary robot costs about $20,000 and the autonomous version is $40,000, and now in the Netherlands. The country is set to introduce rapid breath tests to its coronavirus testing facilities in an effort to speed up testing and make the process less intrusive.
So when you breathe into the device, the sensors measure the complete mixture. The sensor signals are then directly sent to our online analysis platform. And there these signals are translated into what we call a breath profile. And in the past couple of months we have measured thousands of patients with corona, people that don't have corona. So we know what is the average breath profile of corona and people without corona. So when a test person comes in, he breathes through the device, and then his or her breath profile is compared with the reference database. And by this simple comparison, we can give back an answer within a few seconds.
Dutch health tech company Breathomics, which originally developed the machine to detect asthma and lung cancer, said it had collected enough data to reliably spot a possible coronavirus infection, and now in the USA. Boston Dynamics dog-like robot Spot can now not only find your slippers all by itself, it can bring them to you thanks to the addition of an arm.
Right now, the robot's just sensing the world. But the moment that it can sense the world and interact with it based on what it's sensing, that starts opening up a wide variety of new applications for Spot.
On the public perception of robots like Spot, Perry believes it's only a matter of time before they are regarded as simply tools to make our lives easier.
South African billionaire Elon Musk, who is also the richest man in the world, has said that his company SpaceX will be allowing people to travel into space. Now, this is part of a fundraising exercise, and it's going to be the first time that an all-civilian crew goes into space. Now, this week, Tutapol is asking you if you could afford this. Would you participate in space travel? Now, 52% of you say yes, you would. 37% of you say no. And there is 12% of you who say you don't actually quite know whether you would just yet. And that's it. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za on email. From me, it's Pumela Lezwande and the rest of the network team. Stay safe, stay home, have a good one, and good night.